Welcome back to New Jersey Power and Politics. I'm Luke Margolis. Last month, Congressman Chris Smith made a comment at a committee hearing in Washington that many viewed as being anti-gay. It came in a discussion about support to Nigeria, a country that has banned same-sex marriage and made being gay an act punishable by jail sentence. Here's what the congressman said.
As you know, there are fundamental differences in the United States over the whole LGBT issue. I am a strong believer in traditional marriage and do not construe homosexual rights as human rights.
Here to discuss that comment, the context behind it, and what it says about the political rights relationship with the LGBT community, RJ Lassiter, a columnist with Politicker NJ, and Art Gallagher, a blogger with More Monmouth Musings. Good to see you both.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Jay, let's start with you. The point of the hearing was to discuss Nigeria's fight against Boko Haram, a terrorist organization responsible, allegedly, for just some awful treatment of the civilian population in Nigeria. But this comment became the focal point. And Jay, you couldn't have been surprised at Congressman Smith's defense of what he calls traditional marriage. That's well-worn ground for him. But being a gay man, I want to get your reaction to this notion that there is a difference between gay rights and human rights.
Well, I don't think there is. And, for decades, the Republican Party has gorged itself on anti-gay political rhetoric. And it's come back to give them heartburn. We can debate the merits of his remarks, but what we can't debate is the stupidity. That's settled. His comments were universally panned, and I suspect, looking back a couple of weeks later, Chris Smith knows he stepped in it.
Art, I want to ask you a question because you put together a post on More Monmouth Musings about this very incident, and it seemed as if you suggested that Congressman Smith's remarks were less about marginalizing the safety of gay people in Nigeria and more about the Obama administration's stance on gay marriage. Can you elaborate a little bit on your post?
Well, yeah. If you played the next sentence of the clip you just played, Congressman Smith said, "I understand that other people have different opinions, and I certainly respect that." I would agree with Jay to a certain extent politically in this soundbite world that we live in. Congressman Smith stepped in it. But and it's really tragic that this has been the takeaway from that hearing, because what it was about was the brutality of Boko Haram to Boko Haram. That has killed 3,000 people since the beginning of this year and are now expanding beyond the borders of Nigeria into Cameroon.
I want to get both of your takes on this. In this era, you can't just say something as controversial as that and then just say, now I know people have a difference of opinion, and then be absolved of any sort of responsibility for the context of your comment, though.
Well, I don't think he's asked for any to be absolved for any context of his comment. He's provided the context, and that was in the post. He said, all people, including lesbian, gay, transgender people, have human rights and deserve to be treated with respect and compassion. And he followed that up on a committee hearing on February 8th on Cuba.
I want to get Jay's response to that, because that's true. He did come back and say he does not support any violence against anybody in the
Luke,
LGBT community.
Congressman Smith prefaced his comments about terrorism in Africa by stating his opposition to gay marriage in America. That seemed kind of random to me. Hang on.
Okay, we'll get around.
Then he went on to say, let's not conflate human rights with gay rights, which seemed curious. And then finally, he floated the idea that, I hope that our support in America for LGBT rights isn't making us vulnerable to terrorism abroad. Now, my article in Politicker NJ was simply to state that it's not our tolerance that makes us vulnerable, it's our intolerance. And Chris Smith and his intolerance remain the face of today's GOP, for better or worse.
I disagree. Chris Smith is not intolerant. He just disagrees. Chris Smith is not intolerant. He has respect and compassion for all people. He's got a different view on the marriage issue, which is a view that, in the context with which he spoke, is shared by the United Nations in Commission on Human Rights, is shared by the European Court of Human Rights, where and this is where he got into trouble, speaking at a Foreign Relations Committee hearing, and in that context, legally, homosexual marriage is not in any human rights treaties.
We are going to post the whole exchange to our website so folks can get a closer look. Just very briefly, I've got just a couple seconds for both of you on this. in other words, regression then as far as the GOP's compassionate outreach to the LGBT
Look,
community?
if more Republicans were like Art on LGBT issues, then the party would be much more competitive. But the truth is, the men with the power, the chairman, the speaker, et cetera, those guys have an anti-gay mean streak that they've been able to get away with for a really long time. Those days are over, and I'm just here to deliver the PR hit.
And he is delivering a PR hit, and Jay and I are friends, but it's not, and I don't have much of a problem with Jay on this issue. But what the right and more traditional people really don't have any problem, and more so don't have a problem with homosexual marriage. What people are afraid of, and it's coming strong, is the dissolution of their own religious freedoms, where we've got Catholic dioceses from San Francisco to Boston and beyond no longer facilitating adoptions because it's illegal for them to discriminate against gay couples.
Gentlemen, we could do this all day, and we probably should, but
Right.
unfortunately I'm out of time and I've got it in the
Okay.
block. Thank you both for coming,
Thanks,
and I
Andy.
appreciate your time discussing this very important issue. Please stay with us, folks. Much more to come on New Jersey Power and Politics.